Oh, hello, great readers. I'm Bilchen.
I'm Nimicum.
I'm Ven Chan.
In this class, I'll read all of you a part of Moby-dick wa the whale.
S.
L.
Moby-dick or the whale. Herman Melville. Chap. 3 the Spouter-Inn Sec 2. 3 years of age. And a full ship. Horror. Wait. Now we'll have the latest news from the Fijis. A tramping of sea boots was heard in the entry. The door was flung open, and in rolled a wild set of mariners enough, enveloped in their shaggy watch coats, and with their heads muffled in woolen comforters, all bedorned and ragged, and their beards stiff with icicles. They seemed an eruption of birds from Labrador. They had just landed from their boat, and this was the first house they entered. No wonder, then, that they made a straight wake for the whale's mouth with born the wrinkled little old. Jonah, their officiating, soon poured them out rumours all around. One complained of a bad cold in his head, upon which Jonah mixed him a pitch-like potion of gin and molasses, which he swore was a sovereign cure for all colds and catarrhs whatsoever, never mind of how long-standing, or whether caught off the coast of Labrador, or on the weather side of an ice island. The liquor soon mounted into their heads, as it generally does even with their intestines newly landed from sea, and they began capering about most obstreperously. I observed, however, that one of them held somewhat aloof, and though he seemed desirous not to spoil the hilarity of his shipmates by his unsober face, yet upon the whole he refrained from making as much noise as the rest. This man interested me at once, and since the sea gods had ordained that he should soon become my shipmate though but a sleeping partner won't, so far as this narrative is concerned, I will here venture upon a little description of him. He stood full 6 feet in height, with noble shoulders, and a chest like a cofferdam. I have seldom seen such brawn in a man. His face was deeply brown and burnt, making his white teeth dazzling by the contrast, while in the deep shadows of his eyes floated some reminiscences that did not seem to give him much joy. His voice at once announced that he was a southerner, and from his fine stature, I thought he must be one of those tall mountaineers from the Alleghanian region, Virginia. When the revelry of his companions had mounted to its height, this man slept away unobserved, and I saw no more of him till he became my comrade on the sea. In a few minutes, however, he was missed by his shipmates, and being, it seems, for some reason a huge favourite with them, they raised a cry of Bookington. Bookington? Where's Bookington? And darted out of the house in pursuit of him. It was now about 9 o'clock, and the room seeming almost supernaturally quiet after these orgies, I began to congratulate myself upon a little plan that had occurred to me just previous to the entrance of the seamen. No man prefers to sleep two in a bed. In fact, you would a good deal rather not sleep with your own brother. I don't know how it is, but people like to be private when they are sleeping. And when it comes to sleeping with an unknown stranger, in a strange inn, in a strange town, and that stranger a harpooner, then your objections indefinitely multiply. Nor was there any earthly reason why I as a sailor should sleep two in a bed more than anybody else. For sailors no more sleep two in a bed at sea than bachelor kings two ashore. To be sure, they all sleep together in one apartment, but you have your own hammock, and cover yourself with your own blanket, and sleep in your own skin. The more I pondered over this harpooner, the more I abominated the thought of sleeping with him. It was fair to presume that, being a harpooner, his linen or woolen, as the case might be, would not be of the tidiest, certainly none of the finest. I began to twitch all over. Besides, it was getting late, and my decent harpooner ought to be home and going bitwards. Suppose now he should tumble in upon me at midnight, how could I tell from what file hall he had been coming? And Lord, I've changed my mind about that harpooner. I shan't sleep with him. I'll try the bench here. Just as you please. I'm sorry I can spare ye a tablecloth for a mattress, and it's a plaguey rough board, hairy feeling of the knots and notches. But wait a bit. Shrinshinder. I've got a carpenter's plane there in the barwait. I say, and I'll make ye sug enough. So saying, he procured the plane, and with his old silk handkerchief first dusting the bench, vigorously set to planning away at my bed, the while grinning like an ape. The shavings flew right and left, till at last the plain iron came up against an indestructible knot. The landlord was near spraining his wrists, and I told him for heaven's sake to quit the bed was soft enough to suit. Well, and I did not know how all the planning in the world could make either. Down of a pine plank. So gathering up the shavings with another grain, and throwing them into the great stove in the middle of the room, he went about his business, and left me in a brown study. I now took the measure of the bench, and found that it was a foot too short. But that could be mended with a chair. But it was a foot too narrow, and the other bench in the room was about 4 inches higher than the planes. One so there was no yoking them. I then placed the first bench lengthwise on the only clear space against the wall, leaving a little interval between, for my back to settle down in. But I soon found that there came such a draught of cold air over me, from under the sill of the window. That this plan would never do at all, especially as another current from the rickety door met the one from the window, and both together formed a series of small whirlwinds in the immediate vicinity of the spot where I had thought to spend the night. The devil fetch that harpooner, thought I, but stopped. Couldn't I steal a martin and bolt his door inside, and jump into his bed, not to be wakened by the most violent knockings? It seemed no bad idea, but upon second thoughts I dismissed it. For who could tell but what the next morning, so soon as I popped out of the room, the harpooner might be standing in the entry, all ready to knock me down. Still, looking round me again, and seeing no possible chance of spending a sufferable night unless in some of their presence, edged, I began to think that, after all, I might be cherishing unwarrantable prejudices against this unknown harpooner. Think so. I'll wait a while. He must be dropping in before long. I'll have a good look at him then, and perhaps we may become jolly good bedfellows. After all, there is no telling. But the other boarders kept coming in by ones, twos, and threes, and going to bed. He had no sign of my harpooner. Then George, said I, what sort of a chap is Haddo's? He always keeps such late hours. It was now hard upon 12 o'clock. The landlord chuckled again with his lean chuckle, and seemed to be mightily tickled at something beyond my comprehension. No, he answered. Generally he's an early bird, rarely to bed and early to rises. He's the bird what catches the worm. But tonight he went out a-peddling, you see, and I don't see what on earth keeps him so late. Unless, maybe, he cancelled his head. Cancel his head? What sort of a bamboozling story is this you are telling me? Getting into a towering rage. Do you pretend to say, and Lord, that this harpooner is actually engaged this best Saturday night, or rather Sunday morning, in peddling his head around this town? That's precisely it, said the landlord, and I told him he couldn't sell it here. The market's overstocked. With what, shouted I, with heads to be sure. Ain't there too many heads in the world? I tell you what it is, and Lord, said I quite calmly, you'd better stop spinning that yarn. To me is not green. Maybe not. Taking out a stick and whittling a toothpick. But I rather guess you'll be done brown if that a harpooner his you a slander in his head. I'll break it for him, said I, now flying into a passion again at this unaccountable farrago of the landlord's. It's broke a trady, said he. Broked, said a broked. Do you mean? Sartain. And that's the very reason he can sell it, I guess. To be continued.